Holding Court right here with the host of Holding Court with the one and only Ebony K. Williams. By the way, season 3 of that show premieres April 17th. Make sure you don't miss it.
Thank you.
How would you, looking at today's society and all the things you just articulated, how do you feel about what's going on today compared to some of the things that you've had to deal with being in this business? Not just in, you don't just know the law, you're educated from a lawyer's perspective, but you've also hosted television shows. Hell, you hosted sports shows, for crying out loud. You hosted me when you were working on Fox News, and I came in as one of your first guests.
Yeah.
I mean, you know this business backwards and forwards. As you see things unfolding in today's society, and you alluded to the Me Too movement and how that plays such an integral role. How do you feel about the Me Too movement at this particular moment in time, and how do you feel about the things that you've seen transpiring in our society?
I think in general, Stephen A., when you've got more accountability than less, it's a good thing. I do think there's such a thing as a pendulum swinging in an overcorrection, particularly in our business. I'm talking about the journalism part. I'm talking about the broadcast part. I think that you want to make space for things that do not protect abusers and wrongdoers and criminals, downright, period. And also, I believe that when you overcorrect to a point of so much political correctness, so I'm not talking about the criminal part, I'm not talking about the violation part, I'm just talking mainly about the rhetoric part. I'm talking about the thing that says we can't even play in the nuance of things conversation-wise or thought exercise-wise. I think you do a disservice to the ability to have broader impact. But this is a very nuanced point I'm making, and I hope it's clear. This is not to protect or make excuses for vile, inappropriate, illegal behavior. But I do welcome enough freedom, just enough freedom, Stephen A., that says that we can sit here, particularly as men and women in conversation as professionals, and give each other enough grace and respect to engage in something that might push the envelope, especially with our two big mouths, and big thoughts and big personalities, and have enough trust in the powers that be, in ourselves as colleagues, to figure that out. I guess I'm speaking specifically. There was, I believe it was Vice President Mike Pence at the time said something about how he wasn't allowed or chose not to even enter rooms with women.
That's
You
right.
remember this?
Yeah, he said he chose. He wasn't that he was allowed. He chose. He made that decision.
Not allowed, I didn't mean the bosses. I meant his wife. But anyway, I stand corrected.
Every man I know has bosses. That's right. Well, go ahead.
He chose not to. And that's that man's prerogative. But I would hope to think that that's not the standard, that we don't get to a place where men and women can engage. We don't get to a place where black people and white people can engage, where Jews and Gentiles can engage.
But the ability to engage has been compromised severely when you consider the punishment for rhetoric that has infiltrated our society. And that's one of the reasons why you have tens of millions of people. That's an excuse that they're using right now to vote when they look at somebody like a Donald Trump, and they're saying it's a breath of fresh air because the extreme left and the woke culture has taken over our society, much to their chagrin. Whereas you have some people on the left saying you really, really would complain about that and prefer the alternative, which is somebody in their estimation that doesn't really play by the rules and says what he wants to say and will insult whoever he wants to insult. What side do you fall on in that equation?
Well, I'm not a binary person in that way, right, Stephen A.? Like that's what I'm rejecting. That's what I'm indicting. To your question, right? It's that type of, I think, excuse and overreaction that becomes the alternative. And I think it's a fool's errand to say that, well, they've made it so difficult for anybody to be authentic. The PC police are policing, and so we're going to go with somebody who's so outrageously outside of the norm, so outrageously, one could argue, criminally. Some of that remains to be seen, but some of the verdicts have come in, and that becomes the hero, right? This becomes the kind of anti-hero, if you will, but really becomes the hero to a culture that says, I just think we need to trust people more, right? There are some individuals that you give them an inch, they're going to take 15 miles. Yeah, I'm talking about power and wealth primarily, and they're going to use it to take advantage and abuse. And then there's also many, many, many of us, but I'm really talking about our industry right now too, Stephen A., where we have enough ability, enough moral compass, enough integrity. Let me speak on integrity, right? To say that we can have this back and forth. I do it all the time with a mutual friend of ours, Charlamagne the God on the Breakfast Club.
Absolutely.
You see it, people see it in real time.
No question.
All the time.
Yeah. That's right.
And we can disagree, and it can be vehement, and then we shake hands and we move on with respect and integrity. And I think more people need to be given the opportunity to do just that.
Disagreeing without being disagreeable, basically.
That's
I think
it.
former President Barack Obama said that best, even though some would argue that during that administration, that's not what we were seeing from both sides of the aisle.